Have you been to a concert where you started to see your favorite guitarist just start shredding up on stage and you start to feel like you're connected to their guitar on a personal level and every note seems perfectly timed, it's coming at you fast, it's really coming at you with a big sense of power. But how are they actually doing this, and how are they doing this at a semi-high to very high speed? It's actually a hell of a lot simpler than you think. And with a few underrated practice techniques, you can get there faster than everybody else. The first thing all these guitarists have dialed in is rhythm. Without rhythm, emphasis is gone. And this is important because emphasis is what equals all of the emotion. When you have emphasis on a point that goes down in pitch, it can sound like a big answer is made, but if you go somewhere up in pitch, it sounds more like a question and it can really grasp attention. So knowing your points of emphasis from the rhythm, whether that be from the bass, the rhythm guitar, the drums, even the singer, if they're doing like a choir type of line, is absolutely essential. And this is something you just have to do as a musician, learning to feel the pulse of the kicks and then feel that contrasting beat of snares, or just listening to what your bassist is stressing like this. You would know those are your important notes in the 16th note grid. But, as many people in the comment section will say, a ton of guitarists play semi out of time in their guitar solos, and this is also going to be true. When guitarists are doing lines like this, it's not always going to be perfectly in the grid, and that's completely okay. To match the point I just made, it is still correct to play more out of time and out of the grid, as long as your big emphasis points match up with the ones that are in the grid. So don't always be super concerned, every note, rhythm perfect if you're going super fast. But when there's a note that is emphasized by everyone else, you better have the right intention when that comes across the grid. And number two, why do these guitarists play fast and sound good? It's because they're playing the correct notes. And if you learn all of your scale patterns, especially the major and minor pentatonic ones, you are going to be able to understand where you are in the neck and how to move across it horizontally and vertically. Which means when you're playing fast, you're not thinking about, is this note right or wrong? You're just locking into muscle memory patterns just like the pros. And the super easy ones to use are actually going to be pentatonic ones. And if we look at it, if we try to make this even simpler, if we have a minor chord in our key, we can find our root note and play our minor pentatonic, or we can find a major and play the major pentatonic. And as long as it's a major or minor chord in the respective key, you are going to be playing all right notes that are in the key. And as you develop onto that tactic by incorporating the other pentatonic scales in, you're going to start releasing a lot more flavors out of your guitar during a solo. And this is where the importance of modes comes in. Guitarists understand where they are in the scale. In a key, we have notes 1 through 7. And the major issue guitarists like you struggle with is we get stuck in this 1 to 7 major scale box. However, if we just play these same 7 notes, but start at a 3 and then count them off in the exact same, these are all the same exact notes, 3 is the new starting point, we now have a Phrygian mode, which means all these modes are really just a different way to express a key. So when you're in a solo, you can start stacking modes to also find where you are on the guitar neck if you prefer that over pentatonic scales, as they will be able to help you release more flavor. So a clear work of progression you could do is recognizing your major and minor and attaching them to their respective chords in a key, and then figuring out how to fit in all the other pentatonic shapes, which will then correspond to fitting in the 7 modes of the major scale. And as you develop yourself like that, your muscle memory is going to be absolutely insane, and you're gonna have the foundation to start playing lines that are more shreddy, or just finding great melody lines faster because you're not thinking about where right notes are. Your mind is guiding your fingers without you thinking about it. And now that you understand why rhythm and scales and understanding your key is very important, what about making the solo actually sound good? A thing many guitarists use are effect pedals, such as wah pedals, delay pedals. These will all make your tone sound better, and a wah pedal will actually help you express it by moving your foot to how you want the pitch to be filtered. And all of these are very important, but all your favorite guitarists can play a great solo going clean on an amp. So pedals are not important to learning guitar solos. They'll make it more fun to play, easier to practice, and allow you to kind of figure out some cool things to give you your own unique style. But to get good, you don't need them. What you really need to do is master your phrasing. Whether you're playing fast, slow, complicated, easy, knowing what you're saying and why you're saying it is super important. An approach I like to use is called the lyrical approach. You think of words you want to say in your head while your fingers are dancing around effortlessly because you have the muscle memory, and then you just say those words in a pitch pattern that would make sense to how you want it to be described. If you want a big, dramatic jump, you play a large interval. If you want to just be kind of smooth and just run over like nothing happened, you just keep it in these super small intervals instead. So what's really, really important about phrasing is you have to have your techniques down. If you're doing improper vibrato and bending by pushing your fingers instead of pivoting your wrist, you're going to be slowing yourself down and reducing the amount you can really milk out of each thing. If your slides lose pressure, instead of having a very firm ending, all of a sudden your slides are now weak unintentionally. So when you dial in that form, you can start to just think about phrasing isolated. The reason we want to isolate phrasing is if you can't make a phrase sound good with nothing going on behind, it is going to be really hard to do it when you have a backing track in your ear. So practice many phrases, even go to your favorite songs and just emulate their vocals just to get a glimpse of how you can make something melodic and flow really, really well. And then after you've compiled the muscle memory of scales, how to phrase, make sure your phrasing techniques are correct, and just understanding key signatures in general, you will now turn on a backing track and be able to light it up. You'll be able to play these great melodic solos over it, but some people want to play faster. And if you want to do that, there's one more additional step you have to do. The only way to play faster is to start playing fucking fast, which can be done with 3 really nice practices. One that really enabled me to play at higher speeds was just taking that almost to kind of failure, and that sort of just developed my speed over time. But something a little more conventional would actually be to practice those pentatonic scales and really, really get into them. And another one that I really found was insanely helpful was doing the spider walks on crack. Instead of making it about finger independence like spider walks usually are, you kind of just let your fingers roam around. You just go across the strings horizontally as quickly as you can. And as long as the finger is down while you're doing the pick, you're doing it correctly and everything is syncing up. And if you found this guide helpful to start playing better solos and playing better solos faster, subscribe for more content to learn guitar faster than anywhere else on the internet.